My name is Calvin. I'm an alcoholic. Years ago I used to come and do these sessions here with the babies, and I remember one guy that was here, and he reckoned, hey, you know what, I'm worried when I go out. I need my job back, but they fired me. And he said that he needs his family back. His wife doesn't want him. So I said to him, this is a difficult thing to do, but you have to concentrate on your sobriety. That's the first thing is you got to stay sober. The second thing I said to him was, when you get up early in the morning, thank God, but also make sure that you dress up and look good for the world. And I said, thirdly, don't go chasing after your wife and making a misery out of her life, because just as she told you no when you were drunk, she's going to tell you no when you're sober. Just carry on with your daily life. You're going to, as days go by, you're going to get better, you're going to be looking better. And also, the people at your job are going to hear that you're sober. And one day you're going to get a call. And sure enough, he took my advice, concentrated on himself, he made himself look good. He did go and visit his children and his wife, but he didn't beg her. And he just carried on day by day, and very, very soon he got a call from his work asking him to come back. And very, very soon after he got a call from his wife, because his wife couldn't get over this new that swearing guy that was around before and drunk and peeing in the bed was a completely, totally different guy. And today's Freedom Day, and that is what Alcoholics Anonymous is. It's a place that frees you from the chains of misery that held us down for all those years, where we just had to have the next drink, and we lived with these dreams, and we had this I'll show them syndrome. One day I'm going to show them, and things just got worse and worse, and eventually we were able to release us from the chains. And this guy, whenever he shared, he always mentioned my name about how I helped him in his early sobriety. And it's just so good for me to believe that this guy holds me responsible for a lot of things that is happening in my life. But I always say, it's not me, it's you. There's a kid at school who came with his mother the other day, and he's more of a salt smoker. So I looked at him straight away, early in the morning, this light here, how the eyes are when you goofed. I saw straight away, you goofed. And then the mother's talking on his behalf. He's not saying anything. I had enough of this boy. I want him out. Mrs. Stefanis, please, can you get him help? He doesn't want help. His mother wants help for him, and I explained to her. I said, number one, I can get him help, but the rehab charge is 100 Rand a day for 21 days, so you need to pay 2,100 Rand, and I knew she didn't have the money. I said, but I can help you because I can phone the supervisor and ask him for help. We have a good relationship. I said, but what's the use? Here's this kid here, he's high early in the morning, and you want me to send him to rehab? He doesn't want to get clean. And when you're young like that, the ego dominates you. Your ego, you miss the big stuff. And when you get high, you're even bigger. No one can touch you. So I've left it open because I said to him, if you can go to 1 or 2 meetings and come back on Tuesday and prove to me that you can't, and maybe I can send you, you never know, once you're in rehab, the penny can drop and maybe you'll change. But I said, for young O's like you, I've had experience with guys like you. It never works. So you guys need more pain. You need to go get to that point where you rock bottom. You're not at that point now, my boy. But I don't think he understood what I was talking about. I'm talking from my experience. Sometimes miracles do happen, and the kid might be able to change. So I'm thinking about it this weekend, and I'm going to see what decision I can make when I see him on Tuesday. So, no, as I'm saying to you, it's up to you. You know, since the rehab is open, 2 guys have slipped, and both those guys had attitude. They gave Ashley a hard time. And I knew straight away when I saw the one guy, he was even asking the other babies, how much is a beer, or how much is this top and that top. He was so eager to get out and drink, you see. So, you know, I was listening to a beautiful podcast. I listen to podcasts every morning, a lot of them spiritual. But there was this Norwegian sailor. He was trying to prove, you see, there's some islands in the Pacific. There's like 100 islands in the South Pacific. And there's one particular island called Easter Island. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, where those big statues of men's faces. There's about 40 of those statues, very, very big. And when those islands were discovered, they didn't know who built those statues, how it got there. And there's a lot of stories about, you know, all these structures like the pyramids and things like that. And this guy wanted to know where these people came from, because there was no proof that they were from Asia, or they wanted to know whether were they from South America. So he wanted to prove that they were from South America.
So where was it in between?
Where was what?
That island.
It's in the Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
There's 100 islands, all dotted. They're called the South Pacific Islands. So the question was, where were these people from? Because they found people on these islands, and they wanted to know whether they were from Asia or from South America. This guy wanted to prove that they were from South America because those big Easter Island statues were the same that were found in Peru and you know, those places. You know, the Incas from those days. Right, so there was this like story that whoever, these guys that sailed from Peru built rafts. The rafts are made of a certain wood called balsa wood. And then they lashed it together with hemp rope, right? So the boat was made from natural, everything was natural. There's no nails, no glue to put it together. It was just put together with this hemp rope, and the story was that these guys just got on these rafts and drifted. And the ocean currents eventually got them to one of those islands, and that's how they got there. So that was the story, but there was no proof that this happened. And this guy said, hey, you know what, let's prove that this happened. First he said, this is a story how, and there was a whole argument amongst these scientists that it's not true. Why don't you go and prove it if you believe that happened, you know? As one American said to him. So he said, well, okay, I'm going to prove it. So he got 6 guys to volunteer, and there was no shortage of volunteers. This was going to be like an adventure. And The story became big because now everybody was interested in in this thing of these guys setting off on such a dangerous mission.
What's going to be the outcome?
Yeah, people were saying the boat was going to sink in 20 days. People are saying it will never work. So the 6 of them, only one of them could navigate a boat, and the rest of them are all like mathematicians and scientists or people who wanted to be part of this great adventure. And they set sail. First they got towed for about 100 kilometers out to sea, and then they were left to drift in the ocean. Now, there's so many stories about being one with nature, that there's a Chinese philosophy that we should live our lives according to the way the universe dictates, and that God is having God consciousness is having a kind of consciousness that is dominated by the universe. And therefore, when, for example, if you're going out of rehab and trying to force your wife to come back to you, it's never going to work. It has to happen in a natural way. So if they floated according to the currents, the natural currents of the ocean. It drifted according to the way the ocean wanted to take them. And you know what? They ran out of food, but every day there was flying fish on the deck of the boat. Every single day, the universe was feeding them. It's unbelievable because they said it's a miracle. They don't understand how that happened. And eventually, after 100 days and 800, I don't know if it was 800 kilometers or miles, their ship ran adrift on some rocks and they landed on an island. The island was uninhabited, but the driftwood from their raft, I'm saying their raft, floated onto a neighboring island where people were living, and those neighboring islands came to fetch them and welcomed them, gave them food and celebrated with their dances. And you know, every day on BBC there was a report because they had a way of contacting the world. And one day one of them almost drowned and one of the sailors saved him. All this was being reported to the world. So this adventure became such a big thing during that time that this sailor, his name was Thor Heyerdahl, became world famous after that adventure because they sent a ship to fetch them afterwards to bring them back. But you know, the whole model of the story was the fact that those sailors obeyed the laws of nature, and they didn't use the sailing mechanism to flow against the ocean currents. And eventually they got to where they were supposed to be. And in our lives, eventually we're going to get to where we're supposed to be, because the road that we are destined to follow is already set out for us. And you know, I was a level 1 teacher and I got the post of a deputy principal. And there was everything going against me. There were people who had applied for that post who were much more highly qualified than me. There were people who applied for that post who were HODs ahead of me in position. There was people in that post who the principal wanted ahead of me. And despite all those things, I got that post. I was destined to get that post. And for me, it was a miracle. A lot of miracles have happened in my life because of where I come from and the events that happened in my life. I could have been dead numerous times. And the fact that I'm sitting here and heading for retirement in October, and I've enjoyed good relations with my school children and my colleagues. It's testament to the progress I've made in my life. I asked a kid, why do you want to go to rehab? He said to me, sir, you helped this other boy. And I've been watching him, he's still clean. And I want to be like him. So word got around that I'd helped this kid. It got around to the right people. The people that are using drugs there at school. And I say to them, the other day, a whole breakout, I sat with these two lighties and I said, hey, I can't stop you from smoking. I can suspend you for 10 days. You come back, you smoke. I can call your mother and father. I can put you in the right direction and say, go to those meetings. At the end of the day, my boy, it's up to you. At the end of the day, it's up to you. You, the captain of your ship, the master of your destiny, you're the architect of your own design. There's a beautiful saying, you are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny. From one thing, from one seed of thought in your mind, it germinates into an action, which is, there's a universal law of cause and effect. What you sow is what you reap. And for every action, there's a reaction. So we're governed by those laws. There's a reaction from you coming here to rehab, because there's going to be great benefits. We want to rush sometimes. When we sober, we want the whole world to stand on the roof and say, I'm sober. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to stand on the roof and shout to the world, I'm sober, come and join me. I wanted all my bras to come to AA meetings. I'll still go and check them out. How's it, how you're doing? Some of them have died along the way. Some of them are very sick. But I'm alive and kicking. I'm driving my car. I'm moving around and checking people out. And I'm going to be 65 this year. So there are benefits. We always have this image of ourselves as being ugly ducklings. We like lepers that the world don't want. And the first people that don't want us is our families, It's like the straight tree that gets cut down first because of its beauty, but it's the crooked tree that is saved, and nobody wants it. That ugly duckling. But that crooked tree does have its functions, its uses, because it gives shade. It gives shade to the villagers. It has its value. And therefore, we all have our value. God gave us special abilities. And for me, teaching came natural. I remember my first day going into a primary school, and I just knew how to control a class. And the guys that went with me, the lighties were running amok with them and making them look like fools. And there I was, just able to handle things. And that's the kind of gift that we all have. You have your talent, you have your talent, you have your talent. And all I can say is, wish you guys luck. Freedom means acceptance. It means surrender. You've handed your will over to this rehab. you've learned about God, the God of your understanding, and you're going to set out in that ocean like that raft made of balsa wood. And who knows where you're going to land. But the universe is going to take you like that sailing ship to destinations that you you don't know, but as I said, there's doors that are going to open. Ashley was telling about this lady, what's his name? Not Ashford. Shay. Shay went back to work, but then he got another offer with this Lani from Volvo. Those are doors that are opening, and it's for him to recognize that. Who knows where that raft is taking him? You see?
Well, now they come in the air to use not when they come looking for
They came looking for him. And I even tell a lady, you must recognize these things, these doors that are opening. There's one lady I organized a bursary for her. Her fees were going to be paid at the university, and the bus fare was going to be paid. And you know where she is now? That lady that paid for her education took her all the way to a PhD. She's a doctor of philosophy.